Bama was in trouble. Listen to this.
That'll be the final play of the game. The Crimson Tide survives a gutty, gritty final drive of the game offensively for Alabama as the Tide gets the victory and claims a 17-3 win over USF.
Nope. Not gutty or gritty. Nope. That was just gross. Sorry, Bama fans. And you know what? I bet you, I know you're smart enough to agree with me. That was gross. And now it's like, yikes. Bama is outside of the top 10 for the first time since 2015. This is not like, how do you put this? Like, there's been moments when like App State been like a really good team and you're like, okay, I could see them upsetting somebody. Heck, South Alabama just like waxed Oklahoma State, but South Alabama is a pretty good team in their league. Obviously we've seen Boise State do this. You know, in the past, we saw them do it to Oregon a couple of times. We saw TCU when they were a group of 5 team, like they did this and they would constantly do this. This was different. Why? South Florida was 1-11 last year. 1-11. Their 2 best players are catching passes for Colorado right now. And Alabama went in there and played like that. Alabama has major problems right now. Major problems. And I don't think they all revolve around the quarterback, by the way. The offensive line is playing terrible right now. And so it doesn't really matter who's behind them because they're not affording them any time whatsoever. They don't have a great cast of wide receivers. What this does, it makes you appreciate even more the way that Bryce Young played last year. You realize what was going on. Like, they had some major holes last year and Bryce Young covered them up because he was a great player. Well, now you don't have the great player. You have what I would call is like good players at quarterback, but not very good players around them. And the offensive line it's terrible right now. That's just the bottom line. That's the bottom line. So now, like, everyone's wondering, like, well, who's the quarterback? What's going on? I firmly believe, whether he would admit it or not, I believe that Nick Saban used Saturday as a pure audition. I believe he thought to his mind, I know what Jalen Milroe is. I don't have to see that anymore. And he used Saturday as a way to evaluate Buckner and Simpson, Tyler Buckner, Ty Simpson. And neither one of them played that great. Again, I will admit, not all their fault. Not all their fault. By the way, Mark Ingram, who works for us, he said, overreaction. I said it. Now we are on QB3 in a dogfight with USF. I said it was in Bryant-Denny, but clearly I'm delusional because of what is transpiring before my eyes. Got to get back to the basics in Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide. Let's talk about those basics because Mark is dead on. He is exactly right. They've got to get back to basics. They used this as an audition. This was basically, not to be disparaging to South Florida, but a glorified scrimmage. They won, thankfully, for Alabama's sake. But this was an evaluation of quarterbacks so that they could get it on tape and go back and say, who are we going with and what type of a team are we going to be? There are moments that you've got to find that out. You've got to see under live circumstances what a quarterback can do. If he's going to play above what he was in practice, is he going to play below what he was in practice? Now they have the evidence and they can move forward. Let me tell you what I think they should do. Jalen Milroe has got to be their quarterback moving forward, okay? I don't think it's one of these other 2 guys that played against South Florida, and the reason is because of the deficiencies that they have on offense, because of the deficiencies that they have in the offensive line. You have to have Jalen Milroe as your quarterback. The other 2 will not sustain the season from a physical standpoint and don't provide you enough running ability to equate numbers in the run game. All right, let's talk about that. Here's what Alabama has to be. You want to talk about getting back to basics? They got to go back to basically what Mark Ingram was back in 2009 and 10. They've got to get back to a team that's going to be methodical on offense, deliberate on offense, shorten the game, remove possessions from the opposition, and hold on to the football. I'm talking about being in a mode like we see Kansas State at times throughout the past, where they wouldn't snap the ball, whether it was the last 4 minutes or not, until there was under 5 seconds on the play clock. If the clock is running, take it all. Why not? Protect your best asset, which is your defense. That's the style that Bama's going to have to play, because Bryce Young ain't walking back through that door. Okay, so they're going to have to change styles. This is why you have to go with Jalen Milroe, because the style of game has to equate numbers in the run game, because you've got to be able to run the ball on first down. If you don't have his hat in the run game, then the opposition is going to be a +1 on you. Why is that? Because there's no threat of the pass. They can't protect. They can't get it to the athletes on the outside. They can't do it right now, so they've got to run the ball. If you have to run the ball, then your quarterback has got to be a factor in the run game. This is why Jalen Milroe has got to be the starting quarterback for Alabama moving forward. Having said that, listen, whatever Nick Saban decides to do is probably the correct decision. I'd be shocked if it wasn't Jalen Milroe, because of what I'm talking about right now. They've got Roydell Williams, Jace McClendon. They combined for over 200 yards against South Florida, 6.8 yards per carry. Give them help. Give them help in a quarterback that the defense has to account for. This can only help the offensive line. It can only help those backs. Then, once you establish the fact that you can grind it out, be methodical, be deliberate, take extra possessions out of the game, take the ball away from the opposing offense, play on schedule, then what can you do? Throw the ball when you want to. I know it didn't happen against Texas, but let's face it, Alabama had opportunities against Texas. They took the lead 16-13 at one point in that game. A couple of plays go a different way, and Alabama is right there. Certainly a better version of Alabama than we saw at South Florida, winning 17-3. Come on now. Come on now. But again, stylistically, this is going to have to totally change. It's going to have to totally change. The only bright side for Alabama is that there's not a great team out there, at least right now, in particular in the SEC. So everything is still ahead of them. They can develop. And this is the best part about college football, is that teams can and generally do develop and get better during the course of the year. And hopefully Bama will. They do have, by the way, the greatest coach in the history of college football as their head coach. So I believe that they will.